pleasant afternoon to us all. I want to welcome us to this lesson in which we are going to be continuing with our discussion of instructional texts. Last week we looked at what? Which two components did we look at for instructional text? Yes? We looked at the language features. We also looked at what, Zane? The elements or the features of an instructional text. So this afternoon we are now going to be looking at the structure of an instructional text. And the objective of this lesson is that by the end of this lesson, each and every one of us should be able to write an instructional text following the structure that is prescribed on the board this afternoon. Are we together? Are we together? Yes. So, when we are writing an instructional text, boys and girls, it begins with a title. What is the purpose of the title? What is the purpose? Yes, Ariane? To tell us what the write-up is going to be about. Surely you cannot begin writing without including a title. So it's very important that you give us a title. And like I've indicated there, the title, this title, when you're framing it, you must use the how-to, the how-to approach. Are we together? For example, how to bake a cake, how to play snakes and ladders. What else can you say? Yes? How to play? Minecraft. Yes, Palisa? How to make spaghetti. Adwait? How to play chess. So, it's much easier when you use the how-to technique. Are we together? So for all your titles, the way I'm expecting to see things is you saying how to dash dash dash, how to do this and that. Are we together? And then the title is followed by an introduction which should excite the reader by telling the reader how amazing or how delicious whatever it is that we are making tastes. Are we together? And here you can even ask the reader a question, right? To say maybe, let's say if you are writing on how to play chess, right? You can start by saying, have you ever been bored and wondered what to do on a slow Sunday afternoon with your children? Well, a game of chess is what you need to, maybe to excite you, right? Or to revive your mood. Are we together? So you can even begin by asking a question. That is on the introduction. And then from there, the introduction is followed by the materials or equipment needed. This vocabulary, materials, equipment, it depends on the kind of text that you're writing about. Let's say you're baking a cake, Taiba. What would you say? What did you say as the subheading for this part? If you're baking a cake, you would say what? Instead of saying equipment, you would say? Would you say how to make, Minal? You would say you will need, or what else can you say? Ingredients. So I'm saying that depends on what it is that you're writing about. Obviously, if you're writing on how to assemble a bicycle, right? You would say equipment. You can't say ingredients, can you? No. You can't. Do you see that? So, these materials, I want them presented in bullet points. Do you know bullet points? Yes. Bullet points, we know them, right? Yes. Those very big dots, right? I want them presented in bullet points, and these materials must be quantified. What do I mean when I say quantified? It means what? It means what? It means what, Tiber? How many? Okay. They must show how many, right? For example, if it's eggs, if you're writing on how to bake a cake, surely you can't just say eggs, flour. Because I'm going to ask you, do you need a dozen? Do you see that? I'm going to ask you, do you need 10 kgs to bake a cake to bake a cake? Do you see that? So you quantify. You need to put the exact quantities that are needed. Are we together? For example, 2 large eggs, 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Are we together? Or 1 cup of self-raising flour. Are we together? Yes. 250 grams of baking margarine. Are we together? I want you to specify the quantities. But that's only if the instructional text you are writing about permits that you quantify. Do you think if you are writing about a game of chess, you need to put quantities? No. Will you need to put quantities? No. You won't, right? You won't. And then from there, after having listed the equipment or the tools or the ingredients or what is needed using the bullet points, we now go on to step number 4, whereby you now need to list the steps but in chronological order. Are we together? This is where you now explain the steps in the order in which the instructions must be followed. Are we together? You don't choose to begin with what should be at the end and then you put it at the top. No. And for you to maintain this chronology like I've written there, I want you to use numbers and I want you to use time connectives. Are we together? This is where, for example, you say number 1, first break the eggs in an empty bowl, right? Let's say we are baking a cake. Number 2, what can we say? We are baking a cake. We are baking a cake. Number 2, what can we say? Yes? Next, do what? We are baking a cake.
Next, pour 500 milliliters.
Do you see that? Next, pour 500 mils of oil or maybe of melted butter. Do you see that? And you mix, right? And then you can now say, then add vanilla essence, right? After that, do you see that? I want the sentences to begin with connectives. And, Arham, like I'm saying, they must be numbered. You see that? The steps must be numbered and the steps should begin with time connectives. Yes. After that, mix it well, right? With a wooden spoon or a hand mixer. It's up to you. And then from the sequenced steps, now comes in the safety tips. Boys and girls, this structure that I've just put on the board, you are going to adhere to it if you're going to pass, right? For now, surely, I'm expecting that each and every one of us have already started working on the text that they are going to, eventually write in the exam. Surely you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you that when we are going to write the test, we are going to write an instructional text. Do you? You don't. So by now, you should be working on your text, trying to improve it every day, asking yourself to say, where are my imperative verbs? Where are my adverbs? Where can I infuse them? Where are my adjectives, right? There I said 2 large eggs, instead of just saying 2 eggs, right? Someone who says 2 large eggs, surely that person should be given more credit than one who just says 2 eggs. Are we together? So on the safety tips now, this is where you are telling the readers of any dangers, right, that could be embedded within your what? Your instructions. Are we together? If there is anything that can hurt the reader, let them know and tell them how they can be safe. Are we together, boys and girls? Yes. Let's say they are making a paper aeroplane with the scissors. What can you say? What can you say? Yes? They should ask an adult to help them. Or what else can you say? Yes? Okay, they should keep the scissors away from children who are maybe 3 years and below. What else can you say? Let's say if it's you who has to do it. Now, if it's the reader who has to do it, then what can you say?
Keep your finger away from the scissors and cut them.
Okay, cut carefully, right? Along maybe the dotted edges. Are we together? So you need to alert them of any dangers and how best they can keep themselves safe. And then from there, you give us a conclusion whereby you are summing up the text by telling the reader what to do with the end product, right? If you are baking a cake, maybe this is where you now say, sit back, relax, and enjoy your cake with a cup of tea. Are we together? It's nothing complicated, is it? Not even. And then from there, after the conclusion, I need the glossary. And in the glossary, you give me the meanings of any technical or seemingly difficult vocabulary. Don't assume to say my teacher knows what a blender is, or my teacher knows the meaning of all these words. Of course, I might know, but for the sake of you getting the credit, you need a glossary. Are we together? You definitely need a glossary. And then from the glossary, you include a picture of the end product. The picture might not necessarily come at the bottom. I'm sure you've seen it even with some of the texts that you have been reading, for those who have been reading. It can even come just opposite the materials needed, right? On the materials, when you're listing with the bullet points, there is space on the other side of the page. You can draw a nice picture there and not necessarily put it at the bottom of the text. Are we together, boys and girls? So, now here are points to note. When you say NB, it means points to note. You use subheadings in each section, right? On the equipment section, what can you say? On the equipment section, you can say you will need, or you can say equipment needed, or you can say ingredients, depending on what you're doing. And then on the steps, what can you say as a subheading? On the steps, what can you say? What can you say, Mitul, on the steps?
What to do.
You can say
What to do.
what to do, or you can say method, right? And then from there, obviously, the safety tips is still the same. And then you also need to use adjectives and adverbs where necessary. Despite me saying where necessary, I don't mean to say they're not important. Because when I mark, that is the vocabulary I'm looking for. Are we together? Let's say you're pouring the batter, the cake batter into the pan. This is where you can say gently pour or carefully pour, right? Or thoroughly mix the eggs with the butter. Are we together? That's how you can infuse adverbs into your text. So what we are going to do now, I want us, right, when we get home, I want us to write an instructional text in our classwork books on either how to make toast or how to make a sandwich. You're going to choose what you want. Either how to make toast or how to make a sandwich. Did I say right both? No. Did I say right both? No. What did I say? Choose one, right? We're writing this in our classwork books, and then tomorrow I'll give us a checklist where you are going to be evaluating yourself and seeing if your text really follows the structure that we did this afternoon in class. Any questions, boys and girls? I can't hear you. No, you can just, soon after finishing the notes, you can just rule off the notes and then you write the title of the text that you want. If you want toast, then how to make toast. If you want a sandwich, how to make a sandwich. And then you start writing your text following the steps in the structure. Are we together? Are we together? Yes. Okay, thank you very much.